All right. On today's show, we're going to have a conversation with Mr. Rod. Rod, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Let's have some fun today, buddy. I'm looking forward to this.
Let's have some fun. So, you and I are hanging out. We're at a bar or a coffee shop, whatever you choose, and someone comes up and they go, "Hey, Rod, who are you? What do you do?" How do you typically answer that?
Well, I usually I usually tell a little bit of my story because my goal is to influence. The most successful people on the planet are the ones that add the most value, and I try to add value. So I tell a little bit about my story. So I talk about immigrating to this country when I was 6 years old with my brother Zvancha, my brother Albert, and I was born in the Netherlands, in Holland. Wooden shoes, windmills, and we ended up in Denver, Colorado, and we really struggled. I remember we went to an expired food store because that's all we could afford. I remember we had powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because that was cheaper than regular milk, and I wore clothes from the Goodwill and Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I lied about my age at Burger King because I was tall and flipped burgers so I could get clothes in a car. But I'm sure you've got listeners that had it harder than I did, or maybe even have it harder now with all this crap going on with COVID. But I knew I wanted more. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And I mean, she was a bit of an entrepreneur. She actually invested in the stock market and made money, but she also invested in real estate. And the first house she bought was directly across the street from us, from our neighbors. When I was 14, she paid $30,000 for it. And then when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep that had gone up in value. And I'm like, what? Screw college, mom. I'm getting into real estate. So I got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18. You could do that. You could actually be a broker, not just an agent, through education. Now they got smart and you need some experience, but I was a broker. And so I was going to be rich selling other people's houses. Well, my first year in real estate, I made about $8,000. This is 1978. My second year, maybe 10 to 12 grand. But my third year, I made over $100,000. And so what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy that taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology. Now, truly 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset and your psychology. And, fast forward to today, I've owned 2,000 houses that I rented long-term, thousands of apartment units. I've built 27 businesses. Several have been worth tens of millions of dollars. And like I was telling you before we record, I don't call them failures. I call them seminars because they're only a failure if you don't get up or you don't get the lesson. But, out of those 27 businesses, like I said, it's several worth a lot of money, but most were spectacular flaming seminars. And, but we fail our way to success, right, Josh? I mean, it's never a straight line. I remember meeting the billionaire owner of Spanx, Sarah Blakely, beautiful human being. I met her at a mastermind, a digital marketer mastermind. And she told me that her dad used to ask her and her brother almost on a weekly basis, what have you failed at? And he was pissed if they didn't fail at something. And I thought, man, what an incredible thing to teach your kids, not to fear failure. But anyway, so again, fast forward to today, I've owned quite a bit of real estate, own quite a bit now. But in 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you're thinking, ooh, that's really impressive, Rod. Well, so did I, because I got a head so big I could barely fit it through a door. I thought I was a freaking real estate god. And, you do the math on that. It's like $8,300 an hour for the year. And if on a 40-hour work week. And of course I did. And, when you get a big head like that, sometimes God or the universe, whatever you believe, will give you a nice little smackdown. Well, that was 2008 for me. I lost $50 million in 2000. I lost everything. And so, and I thought I was set for life. And so one of the things that I'm known for on my podcast and in my live events is talking about the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place, but maybe as important, even more important, the mindset it took to recover from that. I mean, people killed themselves for losing less than that historically. And so, would love to delve in any direction you want with that conversation, brother.
Yeah. So let's go back in time, Rod. I like to take a little journey. We go back in time to younger kid lying about your age so you could flip hamburgers, so you could buy clothes and cars, right? Clothes and
car,
car,
singular, right?
car, right? So if you and I could go back in time and you just got a job at Burger King and you and I order some burgers and we get to talk with the younger Rod and we could give one piece of advice because we're there's a huge line behind us, but we got 30 seconds to give the future Rod or the past Rod a piece of advice. What would you tell that younger self?
Oh God, there's so many things, brother. I mean, and I asked this question on my show as well, and because I know the answer as far as it relates to multifamily real estate, go bigger, faster, and of course that applies as far as it relates to real estate. Because if I'd had, I got so comfortable buying houses, I bought 2,000 of them that I rented. These weren't flips. I mean, these were buy and holds, and if I'd have just stretched myself, I would have just done apartment complexes, and we'd be doing this from the back of my 300-foot yacht right now. So, but I think it was just one thing back then. I was 15 years old. It would have been just, Nike's Just Do It for sure. There were a lot of things that drove my drive, and we can talk about that if you like, because some of them are actually negative drivers. There was a limiting belief system that I had, but it would, I think what I tell it, this is very personal to me. I would just say you are enough and you can do whatever you want. I think that would be the message to me personally, because I'll tell you, when I immigrated this country, I didn't speak English. And so I got thrown into school. I found out what bullies were for the first time. And then my mom, God bless her, I literally just got a Facebook call with her just now. She's with my brother in a wheelchair, but literally right before this call. But she's a proud Dutch woman. So she thought it'd be a great idea to send me to school in wooden shoes and those leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest for show and tell. Of course, I got my ass kicked again. And then, bullies would chase me home, and my mom would chase them off with a fly swatter. So the next day I got my ass kicked again. And then, that coupled with, the stuff that we all go through. Like, I was on a playground. I got humiliated by this girl that I thought was cute. And then her and a bunch of her friends laughed at me and humiliated me. Those experiences caused me to create this belief system that I wasn't good enough. In fact, I used to ask myself the question, how can I show them I'm good enough? Which of course presupposed that I wasn't. Now, that was a double-edged sword. Of course, that caused me to push freaking hard. Fast forward to, in 2003, I worked 20 years to build this house on the beach. I built this $8 million mansion on the beach, which was unthinkable when I was 18. But, that drove me to do stuff like that and build these businesses and get up when I fail. But it also cost me my first family. So, one of the things that I take very, very seriously with my students is to make sure that I teach them balance and priorities, because, I'd come home and I'd play with my kids, when in that freaking testament to my ego I built on the beach. And I'd be there playing with them, but I wasn't there mentally. I was distracted. So anyway, my long answer to your question, brother, but I would definitely, try to push past that limiting belief. And I teach that a lot now as well, because so many people have these limiting belief systems. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm too young. I'm too old. I don't have enough money. I'm not smart enough, analytical enough. And there's a reason that the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99% of them are, they're based on a childhood experience we had that has some emotion attached to it, and we believe it's real and it's not. So if you're listening or watching and you feel like you might have one of those, what I'd encourage you to do is drag it out into the daylight. Look at it with your adult rational mind. Recognize that it's BS, but you got to do this consciously. And if you do that enough times, it goes away. I mean, I remember I wouldn't raise my freaking hand in class. I'd afraid of being called on, embarrassed, humiliated. Now I speak in front of, thousands and thousands of people a year, but I had to work at it to obliterate that, that belief system, that BS. So,
yeah. So Rod, we have a few different shows that we syndicate, one on deals and one for men. So we'll probably put this on both, because I think that there's some value here. But, like behind every deal maker, there's a story, there's a thing. And you mentioned something that I can't let not, I can't let go without us talking about it. You said I lost my family. I was there, right? You're like, I was there playing with my kids. I wasn't present, but I lost my family. Like when you said that, my stomach turned, right? Because like, walk me through that.
I've never discussed this publicly before, so this is a new one for me. But
Are
I
you
will
open
tell you,
to
but it's
do that?
truth. It's truth. Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool.
So again, I was totally focused on success. Okay, and I'll tell you a story. I talk about this house. I built this place on the beach, and I mean, it's 10,000 square feet. Let me just describe it to paint the picture a little bit, because there was an epiphany there for me as well. So I worked for this thing for 20 freaking years. Okay. So just know that's number one. 2 months after I moved in, and I'm floating in the pool at night. The pool's changing colors. There's a giant waterfall, like 12-foot wide waterfall from the second floor balcony in the pool. I mean, the pool was in magazines. there's giant spiral staircase up through the middle of the house, elevator, wine cellar. I had the beach on one side. It was a Gulf de Bay. I had the beach on one side. I had my boathouses on the backside. It was just sliced through an island. And on the second floor, I had aquariums that cost me almost 200 grand. So this gives you an idea of the house. So 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating. I'm looking up at this testament to my ego, which is truly what it was. I built this thing to prove to the world I was good enough. And I got depressed. And I mean, again, worked for it for 20 years. 2 months after I moved in, I'm freaking depressed. I'm like, what the hell? I've just achieved success like times 1,000. I've got the Maserati in the garage, the Benzes, the boats, the jet skis, all the stuff. Got this beautiful family in the house. And I was depressed. And when I look back on it, there were several things going on. One, and let me just share that because I think they'll add value to your listeners. One of them was, I achieved really what at that point was a lifelong goal. And you should never achieve a big goal without having other goals lined up behind it. Like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. You need a vision for the future. And I didn't know what the hell I was going to do next. So that was number one. Number two is, and I, by the way, one of the things I do at my events is the first thing, if you come to one of my live events, and I've got one coming up in December, I'll talk about later, but is we do goal setting for like an hour and a half. It's like goal setting on steroids. Okay. Now, if you're not interested in multifamily real estate and you're interested in having me guide you through doing this goal setting on steroids, just ping me on any social channel and I'll send you the link to it because I did it on January 2nd for my listeners and viewers, and it comes with a goal setting guide and it's free and all that. So just ping me and I'll get you the link to that because I do it through with music and everything else. But the reason I'm bringing that up is this is one of the things I talk about as it relates to goal setting, because you've got to keep those goals lined up, and it's never about the goals. That's the second thing. It's about your progress and growth. Happiness comes from progress and growth. And so, and I didn't know what I was going to do next. So that was the second thing. But the third thing was the real epiphany was, I'd been totally focused on me, rod, show the world I'm good enough, show the world I matter. And I'm going to answer your question about my family in a second, but this ties into it. And so I'd been almost narcissistic, and so I went out and bought some books. I got Dale Carnegie, I got, Zig Ziglar and Andrew, Napoleon Hill and Tony Robbins. And I started reading Tony's book. I'm like, man, I like this.
Which one
so
did
I went
you get?
And saw him. Oh, he's the shit.
No,
yeah.
Which one did you get though?
Unleash the Power Within. Oh yeah, I've read them all.
So
but I went and saw him live, and I saw that he fed families for the holidays. I'm like, what a concept! Do something for someone else.
Right?
Now, at this point, my family was already falling apart. But I want to share this message because you've got entrepreneurs, and I know you got guys with blood dripping from their teeth. They want this success so bad. So this is really important for you guys to hear this. So, I went back home and I'm like, wow, let's do something for someone else. And so I called my brother in Denver, who was just on the FaceTime call with my mom actually a few minutes ago. And I said, hey, I'm coming to Denver for Thanksgiving. Let's feed 5 families. So he went to his church and said, who really needs help? Got 5 families. And we bought food for them, toys for the kids. We got frozen turkeys. We do it for Christmas now, but got frozen turkeys and boxes of food. And the third family changed my life, Josh. We get up to this house, and it's this row house where it's like a 4-plex with 4 doors next to each other. You walk into the living room, you walk through the bedroom to get to the kitchen. It's a shitty 1-bedroom. It's not even a 1-bedroom. And there's a woman there with 5 kids. She comes out, she sees the food and the toys and everything on the porch and the turkey. She starts crying. Her kids come out. The older ones start crying. I start crying, and I'm freaking hooked. And I'm blessed to say, and this is not ego. I want to share. There's a reason I'm sharing this with you. I've probably fed over 110,000 kids over the last 21 years here in my backyard. I've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies to local area kids, because it's astounding to me. We live in the greatest freaking country on earth, and kids don't have school supplies. We've done tens of thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for officers to keep in their vehicles if they encounter a child that's been traumatized. And the reason I'm bringing this up, guys, is because Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. And, we've all been taught to achieve to be happy. And that's what I thought back then, that I had to prove myself to achieve to be happy. I'm going to tell you, if you give back in some fashion, you'll be happily achieving. And I know that's a play on words, but it's an important play on words. Okay. Don't achieve to be happy, happily achieve. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do, if you're listening and you're saying to yourself, yeah, when I have money, I'll do it. No. Do it right freaking now. And I don't care what your cause is, if it's children, if it's the elderly, if it's animals, if it's nature, you know, the environment, whatever it is, pick something you're passionate about and do something towards it right now. Why? Because you'll be happily achieving, you'll be fulfilled, and more importantly, as importantly, you're going to get the success faster. Okay, trust me on this. Now, you don't do it for that reason, but that's the byproduct of it. That's the way God or the universe, whatever you believe, works. So anyway, I lost my family because I was distracted. I was unfocused. Now let me say this on the bright side. I would have met my wife now, who is is a gift from God to me. Okay. So I mean, I'm not unhappy that it happened. Please know that. At the time I was, of course, I was distraught. I went through counseling, everything else, but I'm going to tell you, and so there were a lot of other things that play, the interaction between my ex-wife and I didn't know what her love language was. Guys, if you're listening and you don't have the book, The 5 Love Languages, go freaking get it, because you know, there's 5 ways people feel love. There's touch, there's acts of service. Honey, let me do the dishes. There's words of affirmation. Oh my God, you look amazing. There's quality time, and there's gifts. My love language actually happens to be gifts. I love to give gifts. And my ex-wife's was acts of service. And I mean, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this woman. She could care less. If I did the fucking dishes, oh my God, the angels would sing, the clouds would part. So again, this is one of the first books I give my listeners, or my coaching students. And I actually had the author on my show, which was kind of cool because he's a hero of mine. I've given away so many of his books. But anyway, 5 Love Languages. I'm kind of all over the place, so you better rein me in here because I usually don't talk about all this stuff. But back to the family. Yeah, it sucked. Worst day of my life was telling our kids we were getting a divorce. Absolutely, to this day, worst day of my life. My daughter screaming, no, no, no. My son
How old
confused.
were your kids?
6 and 4. And my daughter had impacted the worst. I actually talk about that day at my live events as well. Just to let people know, folk. And one of the things I teach my students is make sure that when you're with people that freaking matter, that you're with them. You're not on your damn phone. So I teach a planning process that includes blocking time. And in many cases, you know, those of you on this show, you're entrepreneurs, you want it bad. You've got to block time for the people that matter. Put your phone in the freaking drawer, spend an hour with them. I'm going to tell you, they'd rather have your presence for an hour than 3 hours of distraction. So, that's one of the big things I teach my students because, I don't want them to go through what I went through.
Yeah. So you and I go back in time again. Mm-hmm. And we get to sit with your kids and we get to whisper something in their ear while they're going through this horrendous event. You said the worst day of your life, probably, one of the tougher days of their life. And you could whisper something in their ears. What would you tell them while the event's going on?
Yeah, see, it was a real ugly divorce. I mean, literally $500,000 in attorney's fees. That's how bad it was. Yeah. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much because I have a lot of ill will towards the way my ex handled it. And, she was getting $35,000 a month and she said she didn't have money and stuff, So, I mean, there was a lot of crap that went on. She was telling the kids that. But I would just tell them the same thing I told myself, that they're enough, that they're good, that they're solid. Listen, even though I was distracted, they'll tell you I was a fantastic dad. I mean, they do all the time. But I didn't see, the thing is, I didn't live up to my expectations. Yeah. I didn't live up. So that's why it's my greatest regret in life, was because I missed out. God, think about the things I missed out. I do these journals where I journal magic moments, and I teach my students to do this as well, because life is about magic moments. And luckily I wish I'd done it a lot more. I didn't do it nearly enough, but we pulled out a couple of those journals and had my kids come over. My daughter cried and we laughed. It was just some cool shit in there that you just forget if you're not tracking this stuff. I don't know if you've had Hal Elrod on your show, The Miracle Morning. He is, about getting up in the morning and journaling a little bit, and exercise and prayer or meditation, and just how freaking powerful that is for your day. That's why it's called The Miracle Morning. And that journaling is such an important piece of that. It gives you clarity. But when you're capturing magic moments, when you're old and you're trying to relive things that happened, it's the magic moments that you remember. So you want to capture them anyway.
Do you think when you were a kid, like, did no one tell you you're good enough? Because you said you were like blood dripping from the teeth, can't wait to succeed, like
Well,
fighting,
no,
fighting,
see,
fighting, right?
that all came as a result of me needing to prove myself. Honestly,
Yeah.
I felt this deep need to show the world I was good enough. And again, I was at a Tony Robbins event, and I'd done them. I followed Tony for 20 years after that. I mean, I worked with, I was on one of his teams for a while, and yeah, for about 8 years actually. And I was at a Tony event after several of Tony events, like a few years, and I discovered that question. I'm like, holy shit, that's what I've been saying to myself. And I cried for probably 30 minutes. I was like, holy shit, that's it. And again, it had a positive because again, I mean, I'm back. I lost 50 million, but I'm freaking back. I live in a compound now. It's 6 buildings. I've got the Bentley and all the stupid shit. Hundreds of $1,000s worth of watches, stupid shit that is not important. But the point is, I'm back. Thousands of apartment units. And I've got this compound, looks out over the water. Because God's got a sense of humor, I can see my old house that I lost, the big house. I lost it and all the craziness. And it's literally right across the bay. It's right there out my backyard. It's hilarious. But I forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah. So the question is, and I struggled this too. So this is why I've got it freaking tattooed on my arm that says, "Who am I?" I think like this man's search for significance, right? Is that was a
and that's a debilitating one though. Significance should not be at the top of your list,
right?
And because if you drill down on it, you don't really want the significance. If you really go deep, if you're completely honest with yourself, and I'm going to lose a few of you masculine ones with this answer right now, but it's really, you just want love. And you show it through significance to try to get the love. And it took me a long time to get that one as well. And a lot of Tony events and, self-actualization. In fact, I do these, my podcast is called Lifetime Cashflow. And I do these clips every week called Own Your Power. And I don't care if you don't like real estate. My thing is real estate. I teach people how to buy apartment complexes, but even if you don't, if you want to get juiced, I will juice you once a week. They're like 5 minutes. There's hundreds of them there, but I just did one on self-actualization this week. That's why it's kind of top of mind, because you need to be looking in the mirror. You need to be working on, in my case, being a better father, being a better husband, being a better business person, being a better fucking human being. That's what, and the only way that happens is if you look in the mirror and work on yourself. And so anyway, a little ranting there.
No,
sorry.
So I love this because, when you look in the mirror, when I looked at the mirror, I was always going, I'm not good enough. Like that's the internal dialogue that I had. Yeah. And you said, Josh, what I love talking about is the psychology of success. Now for decades, right? Like I've had the ups, the downs, $8 million worth of real estate building, lost it, built a construction company, lost it, built another.
Oh, no kidding. So you've got some loss like that too. Wow.
Incredible amount of loss. And one day I was sitting with someone and they said, it sounds like you're the common denominator. And it sounds like you self-sabotage things. And through coaching and therapy and all sorts of shit. And, into a combination of one day my dad hugged me and says, I'm proud of you. Like, holy crap, like a pivotal point in my life.
Really? Wow.
Right. So
very cool.
It was a lifesaver because I thought about, jumping off bridges before.
Really? Wow. Was that bad? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and people would look and they go, wow, you're popular and you got following here and you got, people like you and at some point you made money, lost it, whatever, you'll make it again. Sure. But I hated myself, right? Like I was always trying to prove to myself. So let me ask you this question. You said we might lose some masculinity here, right? Or some masculine people.
Listen, and those of you listening, if this subject makes you uncomfortable, you need to listen even harder, okay? Because this is about emotional intelligence, okay? And I want to tell you, if you want to be a success in life, in business, in relationships, you need emotional intelligence. So again, if this sounds a little foofy, suck it up and listen because this will help you, okay? So sorry, I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, suck it up, Buttercup. But you said if we really look down into this drive to be successful, like I have to achieve, I have to have X car, X watch, big, whatever that case may be, the blonde, the this, whatever, who cares, whatever it is that you're achieving to get in your life, right? You said deep down, we want to be loved and accepted, right?
That's it. If you drill down, if you ask yourself that question, why, like 5, 6, 7 times, the ultimate answer, if you're honest with yourself, is always you want love. It just is.
Describe the moment when you realized, because you made money, you lost the $50 million, you had a family, lost the family. Like, What was that moment that you got it?
Oh, buddy, there were so many epiphanies. There really, I mean, you know, again, I'm always working on myself. I have this picture of me with my arms extended. I could even share it with lanyards, hundreds of lanyards from boot camps and masterminds. I never went to college. Now I will tell you, I have a library that's more extensive than some libraries. I'm very well read, but I never went to college. It's a regret. As I will tell you, it's just for the social side of it more than anything else. But you know, so I've had lots of opportunity to have different epiphanies for different things that I've learned about myself because there is no destination with self-actualization. It's a journey and different. I mean, obviously that moment when I realized I was asking that stupid fucking question, how can I show them I'm good enough? That was one thing, but even, you know, recognizing that anything, like, again, I built 27 businesses and from scratch. Okay. I mean, some have been pretty big and many have failed, but recognizing that anything I gave my full attention to and focus to was going to flourish, period. Even if I had to innovate and pivot, you know, like this, my thought leadership business. You know, I started my podcast. We're at 11.5 million downloads now. But when I first started it, I used to say, I'll never sell you anything. I just want to share my experience of losing everything and how I got it back. And, you know, and I used to take free phone calls from my listeners. I did hundreds of 30-minute phone calls. I didn't have anything to sell. I just want to help and just add value. Again, the wealthiest people on the planet are the ones that add the most value, which isn't the reason why I did it, but that, you know, that's the truth of it. But now I forgot where I was going with that. Damn it.
You spent tons of self-actualization is not a destination. And then you said, I said, what was that one moment that you finally got?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So
it's a good thing I take notes because I forget things so
quickly.
No,
I don't remember where I was going with that line. What was the last thing I said? Because I really wanted to share something. Doggone it. It's never pretty when you lose your mind.
You said I would never sell you anything. You have 11 million.
Oh, yeah. So I'm giving you a chronology. So the podcast. So, you know, then I hit 1 million downloads. I'm like, okay, stupid. You probably ought to do something with this. So I wrote a book. I gave away 20,000 copies of the book for free. And then finally, now, of course, I do sold out live events around the country. Thank God I've got a live event. By the way, let me mention that if you don't mind, December 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Orlando, I'm going to have a 3-day boot camp. If you have any interest in real estate, I'll give you guys the ability to come for $197. It's truly a no-brainer. In fact, I'll give you more than that. I did a special last night for an Ask Me Anything I did on Facebook. If you can just write down this email address, this web domain, it's going to probably make it a mess for you, but it's myname.com/AMA. So it's rodkhleif.com/AMA. If you do that, you can come to the event for $197 and you get my Courage and Confidence course, which I just finished, which I'm super proud of. It's 8 modules about, you know, building courage and confidence. And then also a really nice course I did on finding deals. So again, if you can't remember that, just text multifamily to 72345, multifamily to 72345, and just remember the code RODFRIEND. Okay. That'll also get you there. But anyway, yeah. So it's a 3-day boot camp on buying real estate, buying multifamily. And I've never had a complaint. And thousands of people, except maybe the room's too cold or the food sucked or something like that, but never about the content. Yeah. And it's not a sales pitch either. Okay. Please know that. I don't bring in a bunch of speakers, try to sell you something. I talk about my coaching for about, full disclosure, talk about my coaching for about 30 minutes. The rest of it's full on content. Anyway, but you know, I never planned to become an educator like you've done here. And I know now I do it because I freaking love it. I like on the wall here, you can see some of the hundreds of thank you cards. The whole wall is covered. You can't even see behind my green screen here. Yeah. And I've only been teaching about 4 years and I'm addicted to it now. And so that's a message for you guys. Okay. And I tell my students this, if you don't love multifamily real estate, you can learn to love it. You can learn to love anything. You can associate pleasure with it, you know, and I tell, you know, pretend you're hunting for buried treasure, but if you can't learn to love it, for God's sakes, go do something else. Don't get caught living somebody else's world or somebody else's life doing what you don't love, because when you're doing what you love, like I'm doing right now, I'll never work another day in my life. Work is play. Yeah. So I'm sure you feel the same way and you get this feedback, I'm sure, as well, and significance and love and everything else. And please know what I'm going to say next is not ego. When I tell you that I get love at approximately 10 times a day through DMs, through emails, through gifts, the cards. I get gifts all the time. I just got a gift basket the other day. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. And so, you become addicted. So the message here is, if you're not freaking loving what you're doing right now, for God's sakes, go find something that you love to do, because the money will come. I'm just telling you. Do you agree with me, Josh?
No.
Okay. Well, then let's argue this, mother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's wrestle this out a little bit.
Okay.
Right. So if you love it, if you love it, do it. The money will come. I think that there's a few like key components that are needed for that to happen.
Okay.
Right? There has to be it has to have some type of value. Your love for something has to have some type of value for someone else. It has to contribute to part of Tony Robbins' thing.
Okay, that's a given. That's a given. Okay, that's a given. Okay.
Right. So I think that, and then I think
well, what might you love that doesn't add value? Let's try to throw something at me. Okay, since you kicked my legs out from under me, throw something at me that wouldn't work. For example, my son said offshore fishing. Bullshit. You can make a ton of money offshore fishing. Okay. So I don't know. So anyway, I'm just calling you out here.
Yeah. No. Let me think of this. So that's a great question. And it's probably.
Now, are there businesses that would be easier than others? Sure. Okay. Yeah. And are there different pieces of businesses that are going to be easier to make money with? Sure. If you tell me you want to be rich playing basketball and you're 5'3", then, could be a problem. Right. But I mean, as a general statement, so many people are so unhappy.
Yeah.
And so even if you're not ecstatic about what you do, at least be happy. And, if you're not thrilled with where you are in life right now, don't wait, let a year happen and look back and not have changed something. That's the thing. So many people fear change, and that what holds them back is those limiting beliefs or fear, or maybe they're comfortable. And the comfort zone's a warm place, but nothing freaking grows there, right? So, you got to push yourself. And Napoleon Hill calls it a burning desire in his book, Think and Grow Rich, which is why we do goals first. You've got to really want more. And you've got to have that burning desire. And so that's why I love to do that goal setting. We do goals, we do why they're a must, and we drill down on that. But Rod, I really, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, so what I love about what you just did is you said, do you agree with me or not? And I said, no. And you said, okay, give me an example. So I have a preconceived idea about something. As I was thinking through this, I was reflecting on the question you asked me. I could not back it up with an example. So there is a belief system here that
that's super impressive that you just did that, brother. I have to tell you, you are super evolved for you to be able to stand and look at what you just did. I'm really impressed with you, brother. I mean that sincerely, not trying to be funny here. It's very impressive that you looked at it like that.
Well, I appreciate that. Let me walk through this with you, and what proves the point. There's a psychology of success. You asked me a question and I just said, no, I don't believe that. Why? Well, because I tried a bunch of shit that in the past that didn't work, I was passionate about. I had a brand back in the day that was branded Passions Pay, right? Make money with your passions.
Wow.
Right. So I was trying to help people because I was idealistic.
Oh, so this is not a new topic for you at all. Wow.
No. So so you asked me a question I couldn't substantiate when you said, give me an example of something you can't make money on. And you might not be a billionaire, but give me something. And I couldn't. So looking back, my psychology was, because I failed at it, it's not true. And I couldn't back it up with an example. So help me change. So
can I please let me say something?
Dig, yeah.
Because there are several things that could help your listeners and viewers here. One is certainly whatever you focus on. If you're listening and watching Josh right now, you're a freaking leader. And right now, more than ever, the world needs leaders. Don't get me started on freaking fake news or the political shit going on right now, but the world needs leaders right now. And so as a leader, you must pay attention. Now, this doesn't directly relate to what you just said. I'm going to circle back to that. Yep. But I wanted to throw this out before I forgot. As a leader, you've got to pay attention to what you bring in. Don't get caught up in all the crap out there. Like I said, the fake news. News isn't there to inform us. It's there to bullshit us or startle us or scare us, period. Okay. So don't get caught up in that. Stand guard. Tony Robbins says, stand guard at the door to your mind. Pay attention to what you're bringing in. Listen to my Own Your Power clips. I promise you I'll juice you. Or go on YouTube and watch soldiers coming home or things, motivational videos and things of that nature. Bring in the good stuff. Okay. Very important. Okay. Because here's the thing, whatever you focus on, positive or negative, is going to get larger. Okay. And so, I get students that are, or not students so much because they know better, but I get people that call me and say, how do I get out of my student loan debt? I'm like, dude, wrong question. How do you make so much freaking money that the debt's irrelevant? Okay. Or they asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace. Okay. And so focus is so freaking important, guys. And it would have been, so this now back to yours. It would have been real easy. And this may not be the case, but I just want to give examples of what people do. This is an example of what I did. It would have been real easy for me losing 50 million bucks for that to be a disempowering story that I tell everybody and have it become my identity. Okay. Yeah. So that is very common that people will adopt something disempowering as their identity to get significance and love. Okay. So they'll talk about it because Josh, you wouldn't if you're involved, but most people, if you came up to Rod and said, hey, how you doing? And Rod's like, oh my God, I'm freaking fantastic. Life is amazing right now. You'd step back, and most people would step back and say, okay, he's off his freaking meds. But if you came up to me and said, how you doing? I'm like, oh, fuck, my back's killing me. I just lost 200 grand in the stock market. That you'd put your arm around me and say, oh, brother, I feel you, and we connect through pain and negativity. And so a lot of people will make a negative story, their identity in their story. So pay attention to that. So that's number one. And I will tell you, I use I am statements a lot. Okay. So I've got signs on my wall, right here on my wall. If you look, you'll be able to see it, Josh, but if those of you listening can't, but I've got, I am success. I am the best in the world at what I do. I'm a business genius. I've got, I am health and energy. I am courage, determination. Anything you put the words I am in front of is an identity statement. And there's no greater force in the human psyche than the need to remain consistent with how we identify ourselves. People die for their identity. And so, this is not ego, what I have on the wall. I'm a business genius. This is what I'm inspiring to do. If I'm in some fear, or, achievers call stress fear, if I'm in some stress is fear, I will go in my exercise room and yell, and while I'm jogging, yell, I am fear, I am courage, I am determination, I am courage, every ounce of fiber of my being, because it gets into your being when you do that. In fact, my kids come to my live events and my daughter does my sound and my son's a videographer. And the question they get more often than any is, does he really do that shit? Does he yell that stuff? And they're like, oh yeah, he does. but anyway, because it works. Okay. And so anything you want to try to change about yourself, I'd encourage you to use that I am statement. So it could be a story that causes people to fall back to a negative experience. The other thing is, it's really important, guys, listen up here. Never let your business become your identity. It's only a vehicle. Okay. And you can crash the vehicle, but you get out of the vehicle. Okay. Yeah. If you let it become your identity and it crashes and burns, you crash and burn. So be very careful of that. There has to be a degree of separation. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So
okay.
Your identity could be your business, your bank account, the clothes you wear, the chick you
absolutely
date,
all of it. And if you lose any of that stuff, which absolutely does not matter, you've lost yourself. And so be very cognizant of that. Let your identity be your power. What's between your ears, your sense of entrepreneurship and your ability to take freaking action no matter what happens, your ability to get back up, your ability to focus on the positive. Let that be your identity. Don't let the vehicle. Anyway, I'm sure there are other things, but those are two of the biggest things that I see is story and connecting with the vehicle and becoming the vehicle. So yeah. I don't know if that helped.
Well, so You're awesome. And
Oh,
the
thanks, brother.
you're welcome, man. What I love about these shows and these podcasts and such like that is sometimes we talk about deals. We could dissect how to find a real estate deal all day
We just
long.
closed on a $27 million asset in San Antonio. I can drill that down for you if you want. It was a syndication. We raised 13 million bucks, just finished the raise. Beautiful asset, kick-ass asset. And I've bought 2,300 doors with my students in the last couple of years. Love real estate. Yes, we can dissect. Maybe another call we do that. But
Yeah, I think we should. What
okay.
what I really value about like when we talked before, you said what I really like talking about is people and about like significance of like family and focus and giving back. And so I really value that in you. And you're like, yeah,
Thank
we
you.
could talk about this other stuff, but you're like, this is what jazzes me up.
Well, that's what life's about, man.
Yeah.
It's about relationships. It's about love. It's about connection. It's about having a world-class relationship. So I'll share something. This is Tony Robbins stuff, but let me share something. First of all, if you love anybody, again, get that 5 Love Languages book, just do it. But Tony Robbins talks about these 6 human needs. So if you're in a relationship, you're a guy listening to this, or a woman, even doesn't matter. But if you're in a relationship, it is critical I would encourage you, if you have ability, to write some notes down. So Tony calls them the 6 human needs. The first one is significance, which again is not the one you want at the top of the list. The second one is certainty. Certainty meaning, the roof's not going to fall in. That if you're driving down the road, people will stay on the other side of the dividing line, things like that. Certainty, but also uncertainty. Okay. People need surprise. And what I want you to do is think about the person you're in an intimate relationship with as it relates to these needs. Do they feel significant from you? Do they feel certain that the relationship is solid no matter what you're not leaving? Are you surprising them and shaking things up? That's the one I feel at the most with my bride. Uncertainty. But then, of course, love and connection is the next one. Now, not just love, but also connection. Like my wife this morning, she's left to go do some hair thing. And I said, I love you. And she said, I love you. And I said, babe. And I grabbed her freaking face and I looked her in the eyes. Now, this is 12 years in. Okay. So this is not like newlywed stuff. And I grabbed her face and I said, no, I freaking love you. Now she's used to this and she knows that I want to connect, not just say, I love you, and be gone. And I even told her, she was a little frustrated with me this morning because she wanted to get going. I said, listen, one day, this will be the last time I say I love you and goodbye. And she's like, and that got her. Then she realized how important it was. And so love and connection is the next one. But here's the 2 that are the least used. So you want to make sure you're connecting with your significant other as well. The next one is growth. Okay. Does your spouse or significant other feel like they're growing in the relationship? Are you helping them grow? Are you encouraging them? Are you, validating them and making them feel better? And then the last one is contribution. Not only are you contributing to them, but are you allowing them to contribute to you? Okay. That's just as important. Okay. So think about, I'm going to tell you now, Tony says, I'm not sure if this is accurate, but he's a pretty sharp freaking guy, is that if you meet your partner's need, if like 3 or 4 of those needs at a high level, they are addicted to you. You meet them all, forget it. Okay. So if you're having some challenges in your relationship, think about those 6 human needs: significance, certainty, uncertainty, love and connection, growth and contribution, and see how well you're ranking for your partner. It'll make a huge difference, my friends. Okay.
So as I just have this on my heart. Sometimes I just got to like follow my gut, follow my heart on there. There's especially for our audience of guys through our Uncensored Advice for Men show, there's a guy out there who has never heard he's good enough. He's out there striving. He's burning everything. He'll light everything on fire to be good enough. Could you look that guy in the face and give him a message?
Well, oh man. Obviously that you are good enough, that you are a gift from God. You freaking matter. Okay. And you truly are a gift from God. And one of the things we do at my boot camp, this is not a plug for that, but it ties into what you just said. We do an identity statement. Okay. And we have people come up with their identity statement, and I'll just tell you mine. Okay. Mine. And it starts with I, Rod Khleif, am. Okay. So, and it's I, Rod Khleif, am a magnificent, amazing, passionate gift from God. Okay. I'm an incredible father. I'm an inspiring leader. I'm a loving billionaire, and I'm an amazing husband that puts smiles on the faces of children, inspires others to excellence, and rocks the world. So that's the kind of stuff, you need to. So for those of you that struggle with this, if you can't come see me, get into some self-actualization, for God's sakes. Go see Tony. Go see, go do, work on yourself. Look in the mirror. Become better every year. Better at every aspect of your life. Your ability to communicate, your business knowledge, your marketing. I remember my son telling me when he was 9 years old, I was telling him I'm going to a real estate event. At that point, I'd already owned 2,000 houses. He's like, "What are you doing? You could teach this." You're always learning. And so, I would tell that person that you just asked me about, that I would say, go work on yourself, go look in the mirror, focus on being a little better every single day. Again, if you can come see me, I promise you, you'll leave better, because we work on it a lot. We work on fear, limiting beliefs. I mean, my real estate event, one of the things in the middle of it, like, aren't you glad you came to this real estate event? But I mean, I pack it for 3 full days. It's drinking through a fire hose, but we do the identity, we do the goals, we work on fear, we work on all sorts of gratitude, all sorts of things. And so, and that's the kind of stuff that you need to be working on, because that truly is 80 to 90% of it, which is why this, candidly, this conversation is more important than the stupid technical shit on how to buy an apartment complex. It just is, because the vehicle doesn't matter. You matter. Okay. What you bring to the table, your energy, your enthusiasm, your passion, your knowledge, it's, of course, at some point you need the knowledge, but it's really more, your passion. And if you love what you do, see, that's the other thing. In most businesses, you need to be able to influence people. Okay. Multifamily real estate's no different. Building a business, no different. You may have to raise money. You got to influence people. The only way you're going to influence someone is if you're passionate about it. The only way you're going to be freaking passionate about it is if you freaking love it. Okay. So it all ties together. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's so good, man. Where can
Thanks,
people
buddy.
go to connect with you and follow you?
Yeah, so Real Estate with Rod. My last name is so hard to spell, but if you have the ability to take a note, so I can get you, and if you DM me, I'll hook you up. If you can't find if you decide to come to my boot camp and you want the 2 courses, but Real Estate with Rod goes to my website, rodkhleif.com, and then if you put /AMA. We'll leave that up for a few weeks so you can still get that deal. But regardless, if you just go to multifamilybootcamp.com and use the code RODFRIEND, you can come for $197. It's a duh. I mean, if you have any for 3 full days of training, come on. I mean, it's like nothing. Okay. And again, I do it because I freaking love it. I can't wait to be live again. I had to innovate back in, March of what is it, 19, or whenever COVID hit. I was supposed to have 800 people in Orlando that May. And I'm like, holy shit, we sold half the tickets. What are we going to do? So I had to innovate. I had to pivot. So I built a video studio here on my compound, and we've now had thousands of people do my virtual events, but it's so exciting to go live again. Cause virtual event, you got your poker face photographer and you don't have any of that energy from the crowd. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah. But yeah, so Real Estate with Rod, my podcast is Lifetime Cash Flow through Real Estate Investing. I think, even if you're not interested in real estate, you'll enjoy the Own Your Power clips. And then the multifamilybootcamp.com, check out what literally hundreds of people said at the bottom of that website, unsolicited, about the event. But anyway, I really enjoyed this because you've gone a lot deeper than, honestly, I think I've ever gone on an interview as to my story. And, we could sure go a lot longer on stuff for men and certainly on deal structure as well. But
yeah. Well, perhaps we do future shows.
Whenever,
man.
Brother. Yeah. Love it.
But till then, for people listening, what we'll do is we'll include some of those links. So if you're listening, you're driving, you're like, oh crap, I forgot that number. I'll put them in the show notes below, so you could just click on that and connect directly with Rod. So then, man, I hope you guys enjoyed this show. My ask, you always reach out to our guests and say thank you for being on the show. Find out a way to connect them, follow them, support their mission, or do a deal with them. Till then, talk to you all on the next episode. See you guys.